yoga, yoga, flow. Yoga, flow. Yoga, flow. Yoga, flow.
Okay, I think you know the drill roughly. This is about yoga flow, of course. And I have been going through some, I don't know, interesting changes in my life. And maybe because I'm an Aquarius, I feel more drawn to the flow. And there are things that sometimes you must do before you can get into flow. And this is where we come to sadhana, sadhana, which is your spiritual work. Now, my spiritual work seems to be about letting go, which all spiritual work in a way is, but also building up. So one of the things I realized is that if you are weak, mentally and physically weak, that it's very hard to get into flow. So there are people who like to have these really set in their ways kind of like asanas. So they just take some kind of yoga, form of yoga, and then they just do these, and then they only do that. But yoga is also inside, which is why if you have a day where you really hate doing this, then why ruin a beautiful opportunity to do something else? Sometimes I like to just stop doing what I would normally do. So breaking habits, which again is breaking the 8. Because for me, any habit that I do just because I think I have to do it is like, I don't know. I like to be in flow. And I have started to witness myself, so I'm also grateful for recording these things, because otherwise I probably wouldn't believe that I did it. Sometimes I do things when I'm in flow and I actually don't realize I have done it. Which is why, so I have done a lot of work where I just turn around, right? So you have to keep your center at all times. So if you want to get into real flow states, this should not be a problem. Everything's shaking now. Now you do it the other way around. And this is like a roller coaster for your mind. And then you stop. And then you center yourself. Nausea, feeling nauseous can be, of course, something you may actually feel, but then just breathe into your stomach and get yourself to, right, find yourself again. So sometimes this can be a really good warming up exercise, to just realize and then to turn it a couple of times. And if you get used to that, and if it starts to get heavy, I immediately start to breathe out the heaviness. Now I first had to go through preparing the images before I could get to this place. And yesterday I had to, make a chicken, which is weird, and take some wine, put lots of cloves into it to get back into my flow, because somehow I was clinging somewhere, something didn't want to come out. For me, that's a weird topic, I'm just going to tell you this. Defecation for me is also letting go of something emotional. Sometimes we hold on. People who really hold on a lot are usually obese. It's about the letting go and then finding back to yourself, because the less stuff you carry, the easier you will get into flow. And I have let go of so many things. People, ideas, habits, things, just chucked out probably like 20 DVDs or Blu-rays, just chucked them into the trash, because I just realized they're not for me anymore. At the moment, I like to work with Ghibli movies. They inspire me, they touch me deeply, but I also realize I have to move more. And often if I don't record myself, I don't want to do it, which is why, for me, the camera is kind of like a replacement for a partner. So this is an opening exercise. This is like skiing, right? You want to get your strength back, okay? You want to get into flow, right? But it's not flowing. You're stuck and every day is like more of the same. Okay, if you drink coffee, you have to do this. But I do it when I feel like it. So you have to start somewhere. So if you haven't done anything recently, then this is really easy. You don't even have to leave the house. I have times where I don't want to leave the house at all. And then I ask myself, is it bad? Is it good? Now we're in April. I still feel a little bit, it's quite cold still. So if I don't move, I just turn into some kind of like a spider that dries up in its own net. So I have created a network for myself with things I can do to kind of outwit my depression and turn it into something creative. And I have, if you're interested in this, I think it's called The Hidden Potential of Your Depression or something. It's somewhere in the, I think it's maybe in Working with Books or something. I think it's also in somewhere in the Crazy Wisdom ones. It's hard to say. Crazy Wisdom, possibly 3. Okay, and then you just do this. But you don't do it too much. You move in the range that feels normal. You don't have to go walking with these sticks. This is something you can do. Okay? These are all exercises I do infrequently. I'm trying to get back into it. I just realized I would do this. So I drank a coffee earlier with spices. And now suddenly I'm back here while the morning was lots of sickness. Moving on. So this can prepare your body to get into deep flow states. I don't want you to copy me exactly. I want you to find your own way. Which is why if you're doing this, how I usually do it, you watch the video, then you turn it off and then you do it your own way. Because how can you be in flow if you're thinking about
how did Christopher do it again? It's not about that. It's about how would you do it if you knew nothing. You know, if you just be like a child. So you feel where you want to move. If I would never do these things, then I would never be in such a shape. But I should do this much more often. You know, I have no expectations. What do I have to show you? To be in flow means you react to the way you feel. Right? So yoga flow is also here. It has to flow here. If you're pulling up like this, but yeah, this was not, I was focusing too much on computers and shit. And if you do it left, then you should do it right. And if you fall, you just bring it into the movement. Because sometimes you do fall from grace. And yesterday I had a very positive message. I went through lots of suffering. I did my cleansing. I was lying in bed. I had a moment of peace. And I received a message that said, the kingdom of heaven always exists. Just a question of how hard you've been looking for it. So, right, you just do things that seem completely random. Because in order to get to flow, you have to stop thinking and just do it. This is also advice to myself. Oh, now I'm getting sick. No, I am not getting sick. I am. So I'm healing constantly. Sometimes it's easier to do this with music, but if I put on music now, then I have to worry about copyright. You can also do really slow flow. You see how these planks help with straight arms? That's what you need. You need to be able to support your own weight with zero problem. So it's about getting your body used to moving, so that if you are in whatever situation of your life, that all you have to do is let go into movement. And that's then freedom. So you cannot have that if you sit on a couch and watch others do it. You have to do it. That's always what I'm going to tell you. Do it yourself. What does flow look like for you? This is how flow looks like for me. But also because I see the benefit of moving on all fours. So right, you can do this in flow. If I would never experiment, I would not have ideas. If I would not have ideas, I could never share them. You see how you can do this in flow? So your body is like an injured animal. So you need to be patient with it. And you have to sit with yourself. Because you have an inner child. And your inner child may be throwing a tantrum. And it's going to do that for the rest of your life. So in order to get access to these places where this is happening, you may have to start making art. Because this is like a place in yourself that's running itself in a loop. It's like, every time something happens, you're back in that place. This is like Oblivion, the movie, or Groundhog Day, Sometimes you have to get things right. But everything he did during the whole Groundhog Day thing helped him to, in the end, get to the right place where he could be with this woman. Because at first, he probably only wanted her. But in the end, he had so many things. He just wanted to screw her, like own her. But he too probably realized, it's not just about the sex, right? It gets boring. So he started doing all kinds of things. And in the end, suddenly, it wasn't that he had to chase her. Suddenly, she would come to him because now he had something to offer. So you have to make yourself like an offering to a woman, and she should do the same, which is why if you want the perfect husband or the perfect wife, then who do you want? And how would you have to be in order to attract him or her? So you have to sort out lots of stuff. Spend time with yourself a lot. Get back into flow. Because most people are not in flow, if you have failed to notice. And then once you put into your... I feel so much... So I really need to start doing these things frequently. Every time I stop, I start blocking myself and starts to, and I only start again if I'm like fully, it's actually self-mutilation to stop yourself from moving in favor of working on computers. But sometimes it's just necessary, because to make art is really hard. I mean, you really have to be like, get out of my way. I have to access these emotions, these skills, the trust, the faith. So art in a way is also focusing on myself a lot, and then lifting it, and then lifting it, and then lifting it, and then lifting it. And that's really hard, because I literally turn my heart, do like this, and it flows into computers, it flows into creation, into music. And yeah, I mean, I'm working a hard case for nature, and this is the only thing that inspires me, because I'm working for nature, and I should never forget that. I'm not here for any specific woman or people. I'm here because nature is struggling. And that makes me sad. And if I'm sad, I'm gonna get a bit angry. And then I'm gonna use the sadness to fuel myself into being creative. So instead of sitting around moping, I just work harder. Because if I cry, I'm weak. Right? I flow, my tears flow into, right? It's like the ocean of creation. Like in Harun and the Sea of Stories. It's a bit like that. You're tapped into the ocean, and the ocean is in a bad state. So everything that comes out of you is like, seems toxic. So you need a lot of transformative stuff to take what you see in this society and turn it into something beautiful without becoming too much hatred. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I have to start doing this without the camera. This is one of my biggest problems. That if there's, you know, as soon as there are people, I suddenly start doing these things, but if they're not there, I don't do them. And that annoys me a lot. So I have to, I don't know, just get used to doing it. But I always think like, it's so pointless if nobody sees you. Well, but by the time they may see you, you've gotten so much better because you actually did it. It's not like I do nothing. It's just that I always have times where I ignore, because I think it's more important to stand in front of the computer. So I have to constantly be in flow. And sometimes I flow into bed and then I sleep. You know what I mean? But when you're in flow, you're in flow. And that's part of your yoga. So if you hate this, then you're clearly out of balance. Also do it like this. Notice to myself, just Do this every day. It's not about the running, it's not about going running. It's about sometimes, it's better to just stay in the house. Let's say you've got a wife and children. If you're running, you're gone. But if you do this, they can participate. And that's also what it's about. Sometimes you just have to stay inside. For whatever reason, you just realize it's better to stay inside. So you just get used to it. You prepare yourself. Right, if you turn off your radiator in winter, then this can keep you warm. But make sure your apartment is ventilated, otherwise there may be mold. Like, you don't want to cut yourself off completely. You just want to have more time with yourself so you can focus on these things, because getting back your strength takes a lot of time, like a lot of time. So do it for yourself, do it for nature. Do it for nature. But you also like doing it. But your job is to find something you want to do it for, so that it's not just selfish. You don't loom it over everyone else or anyone. You just do what you can and you do it because you like doing it. And that's how I do it. That's how I choose to do it. Suddenly, you can stand on your hands. That's really hard. And you have to watch out for your wrists. So if you bend like this, then you should also do this. Right, so if you do movements like this, then you do movement like this. Right? And if you do this, then you should do this. So all the planks will help you with this. And standing and walking barefoot will help you with this. Just see your boundaries. Right? But in a certain sense, you're on your own. And if you do this 10 minutes a day, which I think I will force myself to do now, you're gonna be alright. Like, seriously. And then you just have to align, right? You make a lot of progress on the inside, you manifest it. Then how would you like your life also on the outside to change? Well, there will be times where you just cannot do certain things anymore, and then you have to work hard to let them go. It's like what I had with the smoking. Suddenly, what's the point of smoking if you can just breathe? But I feel like I also had to do the smoking to realize how bad it is. So, and it's tough, like sometimes everything's shaking. I mean, sometimes you do breath work, you faint. Yeah, it's scary, man. So I think breath work also isn't something for every day. And that's also what I mean with yoga flow. Yoga is more than just these asanas. Yoga is everything. It's your entire life. It's the mentality you do things with. It's how you cook. It's how you stand. Because it's balancing consciousness. It's balancing your mind. So you don't run around hating people or projecting onto them. No, you keep it in the middle. And in the middle, that's the neti, but also, right, you identify with things, and certain things you push away from yourself. So you say, this is black, this is white. But black and white is the same thing, because they belong together. And that's what you have to learn to see. And for that, most of us will have been raised into being right-handed. You have to get your left hand back now. And we have to start treating women with respect. And women have to start treating men with respect. That means we have to work towards each other. And sometimes that means just peaceful coexistence. Right? If we cannot work together, then at least we have to acknowledge the fact that we exist. And give each other space. You know, that's the problem we have had with nature. We try to push nature out, but we are nature. You cannot push out nature because you're nature. And that's how everyone just looks like an orc right now, because they're not in flow anymore. They just walk into barriers in their mind mostly. Like every time they want to take a step, there's like a no. There's like a no. Because as a child they have been set too many boundaries and too little freedom. Right? Everyone is like, you have to sit, you have to listen, your opinion is worth nothing, what you say is just gibberish. You know, that's how most people treat children. That's how we've probably been treated. So in order to get your flow back, you know, you start working on yourself and you start looking at how have you been treated as a child, and then you feel a lot of anger and you just have to, just sit with it. Just feel it. Give it space, how people call it. And then make art with it. Start to be creative. Use the energy that you uncover. Right? There's like a swamp in yourself and you're just like looking through the murky stuff. And sometimes you find like a dead child in there. You just look at it and it's so horrible and you just love it. I mean, you're just so happy that you found it. It's barely alive. And then you're feeding it. You ask it, what do you need? What have I missed out on? You know, what kind of games do I actually like to play? And then you start spending time with it. And you ask it, you know, what do you want? And it's gonna hate you. It's gonna be like, I don't want you. But you have to work with that. And so you need a lot of time with yourself or with people who give you the space without interfering. And that's very important. If there are people and they start telling you how to do things, leave them. Go somewhere else. Just go somewhere else and do it where you want to do it. Because maybe you're doing it somewhere where it's not welcome. So you go where you want to do it. I like doing this on my own. Because other people always try to tell me how to do things, or they were wiggling into how I wanted to do it, and I just got sick of it. So this is about finding myself and being able to carry my child till the end of my life. So I always have my child in the room. So that when there are really children around, that I'll know how to deal with that, because I know how to be a child myself. So yoga flow, I think, okay, so now my question is, when would I do this? Because I'm trying to make a schedule for myself now. Now I have to pin myself down. Every day? Yeah, I think so. How long? Every morning? When will I wake up? Will I set an alarm? Because I have no rhythm. I usually just like to wake up when I wake up, but that makes it really hard on a lot of things. But it keeps me flexible, so maybe just every day once. And if it's hard, it's just a challenge. I have to see how that will be going. The first challenge is already do it without recording it. Yeah. Because as much as you would like recording things to help you with your flow, it can also break your flow, because now I'm constantly talking. I actually don't get into flow. Not as much as I would like to. So yoga flow, right? It's like there's too much negativity. Okay, bring in the light. Shine your light on what's negative and see it as a challenge. The positive thing about lots of negativity is you've got lots of stuff to work with, which is why you need extra time for yourself, which then takes you away from movies, takes you away from your phone. You just have to say, hey, you know, I know everybody always wants someone to respond, but I'm responding to myself now. And that means, wait, what do I actually like to eat? What kind of food do I actually like? Wow, why can I not move better? Why does my knee hurt? You know, I try to blend it out, but I have so much pain in my knee, you suddenly realize. We have to work on that then. You have to work on your knee. You have to start, right? You need stability. You need tough legs, so go hiking barefoot. I'm just saying, bring shoes, but try every time you go, you walk barefoot until you reach that boundary of pain. Get proper barefoot shoes also. You don't need much, but in the beginning it's gonna be tough. Yeah, you have to toughen up, man. Weakness has to leave your body. And nobody can force you to do that. You either do it by yourself or you don't do it at all. So I'm not gonna stand there and shout at you like major pain, because I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap. But I like to tell it to people that want to do it by themselves, who are sick of people telling them how to do things and who just want to do it their own way. Because that's what we need. We need the individual back. We need these crazy yogi that Yogananda talks about in Autobiography of a Yogi. We need these people who figured stuff out by themselves. And that's then the teaching, the school. Whatever you want, right, is your method. Work on it, figure it out, right? Fine-tune it, and then see. I mean, I do these things. I have done them for a long time. When everybody kind of like acted like, yeah, you know, I don't need to do that. Yeah, okay, but then do what you're doing, only improve. Why are you so stuck on thinking that you figured it all out and that's your inner child again that's been drowning? Get your curiosity back. Also with a partner in Tantra, if you're in flow and she's in flow, well, I mean, of course, experiment. Okay, how does this position work like? You know, where's the energy flowing when we're doing this? How is it flowing? Which positions are much harder? Which positions activate which energy points or centers? I mean, I literally, in that sense, in terms of experience, I have no idea about Tantra with a woman. Because, yeah, we never got to that place. So, you know, if it works for you, it may work with a partner. But that's very tricky. If you've been rejected too many times, that's why I work with the law of attraction. I just do what I do. And whoever I meet when I leave the house is then who I will meet. And that's also part of the flow.
you leave the house then when you feel like leaving the house, and then you just go where you feel like going. And then you see what's going to happen. And sometimes you may feel like you will meet someone, and then you stand alone in the park, and then you realize, oh, I met myself again. Oh, that's who I was supposed to meet. It was me. It was me all the time. Hey, Christopher needs more time with himself. Okay, let's give it to him. Yeah, I give it to myself then. But sometimes I'm trying to escape. And then I find myself, you could be disappointed then. Oh, I still have to be alone. Yeah, exactly. Because why do you think the mob exists? Because people are afraid to be alone, and then they all just do the same shit, ruining everything. And some people say, hey, I'll rather stay on my own. And then you find truth in darkness. And that's the way of the shaman. You walk into darkness, but you bring your light. And then you come out, and it feels like you've been walking through a tunnel, and that's a portal to some part of yourself that you forgot exists, that was living in some kind of other dimension, and that's then Cloud Atlas. I mean, reconnect with your Viking nature, but without the real violence. Because the violence we already had in school, that was violent. How they treated us, how I was raised was violent. So I'm making up for that by myself, right? I play with myself, with my own inner child. I really love making art. I just listened to Gigi D'Agostino, and then sometimes I listen to Moby. These are the people where I feel like they really know what they're talking about in their music. And that's what inspires me. So whatever inspires you, and that's the great reveal, the great message. You can choose what to spend time with, and who to spend time with, and how to spend your time. You can choose whether you want to do pottery or crochet or knitting, or if you want to do dancing, or if you want to do hiking. I just need something for days where I just don't want to leave the house because I'm in this deeply creative process. And I cannot break the flow of being creative when I'm creative, which is why then I have to find something to do while I'm secluding myself. And that is basically what I had to find. Things that I can do when I'm secluding myself, for times where I go through processes that are so intense that nobody can intervene with this. But there will be a time where I will no longer have to do lots of stuff in that chapter or that area. So right now it's important. And I mean, if I'm with other people, it's insane the difference. If you take your time and work with yourself, it's insane. But it's also hard. Because you feel lonely and blah, blah, blah. But it's your freedom. That's what frees you. Suddenly you're like, wow, I like spending time with myself. And that's the best place to invite a partner into your life. If that partner comes, and law of attraction will bring her or him to you. You just have to do the work yourself. And for me, it clearly has to be a woman that wants to engage with me. There's no need for me for a partner that just wants to sit around and read books all day. No, it's about piggybacking each other, into the sunset, together, being together like man and wife, but also like children. That's basically what I was or am looking for, right? Whatever. I'm just waiting, patiently waiting for something to appear. And the rest, I don't want to be too specific. Okay, so now I will
Post. This was all I had on Yoga Flow. Okay.
Shaboom, ba ba bum, ba ba boom, ba ba bum, ba ba boom, ba ba